I've often said that leftists can't win arguments by citing facts, evidence, or history. So they have to resort to changing the language and redefining words to mean things they were never meant to mean. It's your classic George Orwell move. So, do you know what court packing means? If you think it means adding seats to the Supreme Court, you'd been correct up until a few minutes ago. Because in order to support the leftist narrative, Dictionarycom has changed the definition of court packing to mean, quote, changing the number or composition of judges on a court, making it more favorable to particular goals or ideologies, and typically involving an increase in the number of seats on the court, end quote. Lest you think that last part redeems the definition, I want to point out that court packing doesn't typically mean adding seats to the court. It always means adding seats to the court. Dictionary.com gave a response to being called and said that this was simply that, quote, language evolves, and so do we, end quote. Actually, in this case, language is devolving, and so have they. Or at least it will devolve if you rely on Dictionary.com as a reference source. And speaking of devolving, some election news, but first, side note, YouTube put out a statement recently that they'll be removing any videos on the platform that makes so-called fraudulent claims about any so-called fraudulent elections. So just in case any of the YouTube overlords are listening, yes, the following is real news with verifiable and reliable sources. That probably won't change anything. YouTube will still remove this video, so you may want to share it before then. My own YouTube videos are apparently being throttled back by YouTube to diminish views. So if you see this, you're one of the lucky ones. Hundreds of thousands probably will not be allowed to view by the goose-stepping goons inserting their bias into what should be free speech on the platform. Anyway, on Tuesday, conservatives were infuriated by a report that Supreme Court Justice Alito announced that the Supreme Court of the United States had unanimously rejected a lawsuit by Representative Mike Kelly and others challenging the Pennsylvania vote count. However, Trump attorney Jenna Ellis said the media misreported the story. That's a shocker, isn't it? And that the case was still on the docket. The Supreme Court only denied the request for emergency injunctive relief to block the vote certification. The Supreme Court did put the lawsuit by Texas against Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, which is now supported by 18 states, onto the docket, although that doesn't guarantee they will hear it. Justice Alito gave the 4 states until 3 p.m. on Thursday to respond. It's hard to find any good info on this case since most mainstream media outlets are just railing against it or dismissing it or attacking Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton for even filing it. But a write-up from the mostimportantnews.com has some good thoughts on the issue. In it, the author states that the U.S. Constitution gives the Supreme Court original jurisdiction over controversies between states. And so this is why this case did not need to be filed in a lower court first. But the Supreme Court is not obligated to hear any particular case for that matter. And many on the left initially thought that the court would never actually agree to hear it. Well, it was put on the docket on December 8th, so the case will be heard by the Supreme Court. So, cue the deranged screaming. I'm sure it will begin soon. As I've noted before, an illegal vote in a local race disenfranchises one voter, but any illegal state tally that alters the results of a presidential election disenfranchises more than half the nation. So they should have standing to challenge that. In a New York election, I'm hardly shocked to hear that 5 weeks after a congressional race where the Republican came out 12 votes ahead, someone has found, that's right, found exactly 12 overlooked ballots in a drawer. I wouldn't even be shocked if I heard that they're 100% for the Democrat. I'm only shocked that they didn't find 13 ballots. And to those who've criticized Georgia GOP Senators Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue for not supporting Trump's election fight, please note that they issued a joint statement declaring that they, quote, fully support President Trump's legal recourses, end quote, as well as the Texas lawsuit. Now mark your calendars to vote for them in the runoffs, because if Trump doesn't prevail, they're going to be the only thing between you and a government run by Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, and the Chinese Communist Party, by way of Eric Swalwell. In the meantime, the news media and social media continue to insist that Joe Biden has prevailed and is currently president-elect. He still technically isn't yet, by the way, and he wouldn't be even if there were no challenges to the election at all until December the 14th. Just reporting a fact. That's the law. Why don't the fact checkers get in on that? Well, someone forgot to tell the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies that Biden was president-elect, because when they met Monday to consider a resolution just to affirm that they were preparing for Joe Biden's inauguration, it failed when the vote split 50-50 on party lines. Now, frankly, I don't understand why anyone is bothering to prepare for Joe Biden's inauguration, even if he does prevail. It's guaranteed to be the worst, least attended inauguration ever. We know that Joe Biden barely comes out of his basement. His party is threatening to arrest people for leaving their homes, and any inaugural activities will be virtual. To top it off, Joe Biden chose, as members of his inaugural committee, the king and queen of home confinement, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer and Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti. So if Biden does get in, breaking lockdown orders by showing up for his inauguration in front of those two, this could be the first time in history that a new president gets arrested at his own inaugural. I imagine Kamala Harris would be the one to cuff him with a smile and a cackle. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed that video, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel below and clicking the notification bell. Please leave a like and a comment, and share this video as well if you really enjoyed it. And if you want more of my news analysis and commentary, you can sign up for my newsletter at MikeHuckabee.com. It is completely free. Also, remember my brand new podcast called The People's Podcast, available at QuakeMedia.com/Mike. I hope you'll subscribe. That's it for this edition of The Breakdown. I'm Mike Huckabee.